Well, evening students, I'm waiting for the number to pick up, then we continue. The meeting is live streamed on YouTube. So those that, if we get to the maximum of 500, the rest will join through YouTube. I'm waiting for a number to increase. We are supposed to hit 500 plus. Those who will miss the 500 mark, they will be attending the meeting via YouTube. We are still at 125. We are not even a quarter of the class. Yeah, if it is possible to engage your friends that the lesson is on, that will be better.
We are at 198, so I'm expecting that our number increases. We are at 198, 207.
there have been an issue about where do we supposed to, which area is supposed to select for learning. If you come to my there is EDF211 September intake. There it is. Here where we're supposed to, as we're waiting for us to come in. If you click there, you'll find the content is there. So the rest are not your courses. We only have this 221, which is history of education. We have 710, we have 711. This one you cannot be able to see as a student. So the only one that we have, it's supposed to be this one for, it is written 2022 September to DEC. The other ones you're not supposed to pick from any. And if you go there, you'll find whatever you want to get. There's already lecture notes for lesson 1. And the quiz here, there's an announcement about Cat 1, it is there. And if you go there, they tell you what is supposed to be done. The quiz will not be available until Saturday 8th. I think we shall move it from not be on Saturday. It will be a working day, 8th October up to Tuesday 11th. So it might start on earlier than that so that it ends on Friday. So those that are keeping on asking questions on what on Telegram, well, if the notes are there, when is the cut? It means they have not registered here. That's why they are keeping on asking so many questions. So if you've registered here, it means that you know when the exam is supposed to be, and also you're supposed to know when whether there are notes there or not, because notes are there. So I'll not post notes anywhere apart from there. If I look at participants, how many students have enrolled for this up to today, you only have 557. We are more than 557, which means when we sit for that cut, only 557 students will be able to sit for the cut. And there will be no any other cut that will be offered. So if you look at this, I'm able to see how many of you have enrolled in this class, beginning from Cheruto. There's Maraka Abigail, there is that Onyango. All of them, I'm able to see how many are enrolled. So we are at 237. If we get to 250, then we begin. Yeah, we are almost the quarter of the class, and I'm happy about that. We can now begin our lesson. For those that will miss out, because I know that they'll miss out, I will send on the WhatsApp group, on our Telegram group. I will send the YouTube link that will guide us. So for those of us who will miss the threshold of 500, we will be able to be found on the live stream on the YouTube. Na wale wa kwanza kuandika kwa nini yangu wameshaanza kitambo. I don't know why. If you write on my wall, I'll chase you out of the class. Hiyo tabia ilikuwa last week. I'm just trying to check who is doing that. William, you are the one that is writing. Unachafua wall yetu. William, it is you. I'll chase you out of this class. William. William, I've noted you. You are the one that is writing on this wall. If you write on this wall, I'll chase you out of this class. Hizo red marks ni zako. I don't know why people are writing. I just expect that when you get in, yours is to look at the screen without playing with your phone. By the time tutakuwa tunamaliza this lesson, somebody cannot even be able to see those notes because of your writings there. I'm stop sharing because you people are writing on my wall. We can't read. My wish was that ukiingia shika tu simu yako na unyamaze. Mkiendelea kunini hapo, I'll not share my notes and I will not even post those notes on your walls. If you get inside here, just hold your phone na kuwa na notes man, but don't play with your phone. Some of you are playing with your phones and writing there with so many writings. So I'm not able to see because of your writings there. So I'm sharing for the last. If you start again, scribbling on the same, I will stop sharing. I will just talk. So we are coming to topic 3 that deals with methods of philosophy. Last week we were looking at the content of philosophy. And we were talking about, when we talk about the content of philosophy, we are barely meaning what is contained in philosophy. And we also said that when you talk about content area of philosophy, we mentioned the 4 content area that philosophy is contained in. And we talked about axiology. We talked about epistemology. Some people are raising up their hand. Let me see. I hope you're getting my voice. If you're not getting me, you write there on the chat. I'll be able to read from the chats what you mean. But everybody should make sure that they are registering for the unit today to show that you have attended today's class. If you have anything before the class begin, you can indicate there. Good. I'm trying to check in our messages if there's anybody. No. So we are looking at the content area of philosophy. Unfortunately, there is again power blackout. Let me just Sawe Hazel, what are you trying to write there? Nimekataza kwamba watu wasiandike hapo. Once you start scribbling on my work, for those of us who will miss the threshold of 500, we will be able to be found on the live stream on the YouTube. I'm trying to look for the better way in case stima ipotee kabisa isirudi. I see how we survive. So let me stop sharing a little bit, then I'll come back. Just a moment, because stima imepotea. I want to see how we'll survive without the power. Good riddance, the power is back. So I believe that itapotea, but in case itapotea, we see how we shall be able to survive. So as I said, we were looking at the content area of philosophy last week, and we talked of 4, and we say that philosophy is contained in 4 aspects. We talked about axiology, we talked about logic, we talked about epistemology, and we talked about metaphysics. And the most important thing that you're supposed to know as a student is how we apply all the 4 aspects in education. How do we apply metaphysics in education? How do you apply axiology in education? How do you apply epistemology in education, you as a student? How do you apply good? I don't know whether I'm alone in this class. I'm an apart now that I've muted everyone. Let me just check whether to see whether I'm not alone. So normally students always confuse between the methods of philosophy and content. The content, what is contained in philosophy, technical philosophy. So a question comes and you're asked to discuss on the content area of philosophy, and the majority of us go straight and they start looking at the methods instead of looking at the content. So every time there is that confusion from students between the content area of philosophy and the methods of philosophy. Always be very keen to see which area mostly is about content area and methods that are in philosophy. When we talk about methods, we talk about how do we approach philosophy. Philosophy has got a distinct approach. If you want to see how philosophy is approached, it's a very distinct area that you need to see the best approach that you're able to approach philosophy as a method. If you, we talked about problems that are in education and how they are supposed to solve them philosophically. So we say that philosophy of education is the application of philosophical thoughts in solving problems of education. And we talked about problems that are found in education. You have talked about indiscipline. You have talked about inadequate resources. You have talked about inadequate teachers. You have talked about so many things that are found in philosophy, in education problem. So how do we solve those problems as philosophers? So this is now where the method of philosophy now comes in. And when you talk about the same methods of philosophy, this being a philosophy class, we will want now you as a teacher, how will you be able to employ or to incorporate these methods in teaching and learning? And the 4 main methods that we have is critical method, we have the rational method, phenomenological method, and speculative method. So I'll be able to help us to understand each and every aspect. Then there are some articles I will be able to send on our WhatsApp group, especially on critical method, on speculative method, and how it's supposed to be applied in teaching and learning. How do you as a teacher apply speculative method in teaching and learning? How do you apply speculative method in a classroom setup? How do you apply phenomenology in a classroom setup? Once you're able to understand that, then you are able to understand, you are able to good to go in philosophy. So we have the main objective of today is to state at least 4 methods of philosophy. And then at the end of the day, you're supposed to explain how each method can be used by a secondary school teacher in the process of teaching. How are you able to be able to use this method in teaching and learning? How best are you able to apply this method as a teacher in your teaching and learning? So we have the critical, as I've said, rational method is inclusive of analysis and synthesis. Then we have the phenomenological method. Then we have speculative method. The big idea is, how do you speculate as a teacher in the teaching and learning? How do you apply phenomenology as a teacher in teaching and learning? How do you apply rational method in teaching and learning? And how do you apply critical method as a teacher in teaching and learning? So the best thing for you to understand this, it's good we be able to define what each method is all about. And we talk about critical method. We talk about critical method. We were discussing when we were defining about philosophy and education. We were looking at definition of the word philosophy. We looked at the definition of the word education, and we also looked at the definition of the word philosophy of education. And we said for us to approach this definition, we have got the 3 aspects of defining a word. One is the descriptive. Descriptive is the way the dictionary gives definition. For example, the way Macmillan can define what education is, the way Oxford can define what education is. And the second one is the prescriptive or the normative. What have people, after you've learned and sat in class, what have people said what is philosophy? What have people said, what has Socrates said? What has Plato defined education? What has Plato defined philosophy? And the third one, we talked about etymology, where we discussed the origin of word. Where we are talking about philosophy comes from the 2 Greek words, philo and sophia, love for wisdom. So when you look at critical method, this one reminds us of the etymological definition. We are talking about the term critique comes from the Greek word verb krinin, meaning to judge. So you put issues into judgment. So you subject the values, you look at the facts, you look at the principles, conversations, and assumptions that are always taken for granted to severe questioning, so that you can get honesty of thought. So this one seeks to protect man from fanaticism and hypocrisy, intolerance, and dogmatism. This method is also called Socratic method because it was mostly used by Socrates. So that's why the other name is called Socratic method, where you put issues into deeper judgment and questioning. You don't just accept the facts the way they are. You apply critical thinking. You be creative. You apply critical thinking in problem solving as a teacher. And you question an issue until you get the answer. For example, you're talking about CBC. How can we put that CBC into Socratic method? When the parents are saying that it is expensive, the questions we're supposed to ask, how expensive is it? Is it expensive in terms of time? Is it expensive in terms of resources? Is it expensive in which way? And if it is expensive, you know, you're putting values into judgment. You're asking yourself, if it is expensive in terms of time, where are these parents spending most of their time? Is it that they are spending most of their time looking for other ways of feeding the family? Or is it that they're not creating time for their children? They want to abdicate their duties to children because parental involvement is one of the key tenets of the CBC. So you look at it, you look at the positives, look at the negatives, then come in and put your input there. And you'll be able to find out that critically, if I engage in Socratic thinking and methodology, then I'll be able to assess and see that is CBC viable. When you are a teacher of English and you are reading a novel, then you start looking at the book and start analyzing. Those are the methods. Those are part of the ways that you are applying critique. You critique a book, you look at it on both sides and see how relevant that book can be. For example, if it is an enemy of the people, how relevant is that book to the current society? Socratic method comes in as a teacher of English. You are able to look at it and critique the book. Now, the question that comes, Simiyu, I don't know what you're writing on our wall. I wish you just and Dengeri, avoid writing on our wall. Kindly identify our wall. The best thing, you're supposed just to come in, hold your pen, answer fight mambo. Don't write. You're scribbling our wall and you're getting it. It's getting that here every time. I wish we could just be good students and be disciplined. It can really help us. So that's all about Socratic method. The second method is rational method. Unfortunately, my screen has been identified again. The challenge is to people are getting into anecdotes. I don't know what Simiyu, nafuta unaandika. Can you stop that? There are people that are having some pens, so wameshika tu makalamu wanachorachora tu hapo. Can you leave that area of the anecdotes kindly? Hapo pa anecdote usiguze hapo. You are interfering with our drawings in a class hapo. I'm clearing and you're still bringing them here. Annotates hapo, hizo annotates. Can you please avoid that area? And the issue is, if you draw, I'll just see what you are doing. So avoid that. So the second method is called rational method. When the word rational comes to your mind, to you is about thinking. We have talked about rationalism. We shall be looking at it even deeper. When we're looking at Simiyu, what are you doing? So avoid those annotates. which most of us just be disciplined. You are wasting your bundles and time scribing what you're writing on the wall. Avoid the annotates. Let us just be patient and listen, because I don't intend to take here much of our time because of the bundles. But mkianza kuchora hapo again, I lose the track and then we start again. So when we talk about rational, the first thing that's supposed to come to your mind is about thinking. And we shall be looking at the sources of knowledge I talked the other time. We have got two main sources of knowledge. We have the empiricism, and the other one is about rational, where thinking, application of the faculty of thinking, is the source of knowledge. So rational method, as a method of looking for philosophical and problem and solution, it is the use of logical and systematic thinking. And mostly it uses logic and reasoning most of the time. It consists of analysis and synthesis. So we talk about analysis, and so the two go hand in hand. Where do we begin from analyzing, and where do we go and meet synthesis? So those are the aspects that shall be looking at. Where does analysis begin, and where does synthesis now take over? Once you're able to understand that, and how you are able to apply it in education, now you are good to go as a student in philosophy. Remember that if you'll ever go and want to study philosophy further, these are the approaches that you'll be using to solve philosophical problems most of the times. So if you want to apply a philosophical concept or a problem, then you are able to apply either of those four methods, or sometimes it is combined to solve the same problem. So when you talk about analysis, the first thing we talk about analysis is breaking issues into parts by systematic thinking in order to arrive at a clear understanding. You look at an issue, you break most of it into parts, so that you don't think haphazardly, so that you separate essential things. For example, we can break the issue about time in Africa. What is time? Or we shall be looking at knowledge. What is knowledge? When we talk about knowledge, we are able to break, according to Socrates, block the word knowledge into parts. That knowledge can be justified through belief. So for something to be called knowledge, there's supposed to be justification, there's supposed to be truth in it, and there shall be belief in it. So you've looked at the word knowledge, and you've broken it into smaller parts so that you are able to understand it better. That's what we call analysis. So deeper in philosophy, there's what you call conceptual analysis. You look at a concept, or a statement, and then break it. What did he mean about that? These are the things that you have been doing even in schools. I don't know whether there's an issue, whether people issues about letter writing. When somebody writes to your letter and say, dear, you start looking at why dear? Dear what? So you break those words to get meaning. Break. So breaking means, analysis means breaking the concepts or statements into parts, so that you are able to analyze each part and analyze the language in context, so that you are able to clarify and justify meaning. There is a last year during the election period, during the campaign, that's the time that people might sling each other so much. So one of the aspirant might slang the other by saying that There are some people sura yao ni mbaya sana, hata haiwezi kufit kwa pesa ya Kenya. So this man was called and he was supposed to explain himself. Then he said, no, I didn't mean about that. I was saying that the image, some people, their image is bad, not in terms of the face, but it is bad in such a way that it's only known in a particular area. So their performance is bad. So sura yao haiwezi kuonekana kuonyesha sura yote ya Kenya. So they have changed from whatever they meant and they have broken. So the concept analysis, you look at analysis, you look at the language, you look at the concepts, you look at the issue. When was this spoken and why? So you break things into parts so that you are able to understand what they really mean. Someone had raised the hand. If you are the one, can you unmute yourself? Then you ask whatever you want to ask before you move on. I saw a hand. We are so many. We are over 300. So I'm not able to notice who raised. I'm just seeing a hand popping up and going down. Or somebody was just trying to play with their phones. Felix, you're gone? Good. So after breaking these concepts into parts, we now start coming up and forming up with new ideas. So an analysis breaks issues into small parts. Synthesis brings together the parts. The aim is to see something in its totality, to see the interrelationship and overall framework. So rational methods only look at the mind as the only source of knowledge. So when you talk about rational, the best idea here is logic. You apply a lot of logic. When you're talking about, we're talking about inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning. Now this one come and apply mostly here. So that the framework so much, you look at the premises of your argument. For an argument to be valid, you look at the premise. For example, we're talking about insects and we gave 3 premises. Ochola done, whatever you're writing there, avoid. We gave 3 aspects of an insect for something to qualify an insect, 3 pairs of the legs. So if you talk about a mosquito has got 3 pairs of legs. Maybe a mosquito has got maybe wings. Now a mosquito qualifies to be an insect. And the premise that we are using is that all insects have got 3 pairs of what? Of legs. A mosquito, that's the second premise. You're now breaking issues into parts. A mosquito has got 3 pairs of legs. Therefore, logically, we can be able to deduce that a mosquito is what? Is an insect. So that these issues, you break them into particular parts, then at the end of the day, you get the inner meaning. So we always apply logic in sciences. We apply logic in mathematics, when you take 2x plus 2y, these are the things that you always apply. 2x plus 2y is equals to z. Then you start breaking those, you break, come until you get to the conclusion. That's what I'm talking about rational method, which involves two parts, the synthesis and the analysis. The other method of philosophy is called phenomenology. Phenomenology. This one comes from the Greek word, so that's again the etymological, meaning appearance, and logia, knowledge. So when you talk about phenomenology, in simple terms, you're looking at description or study of appearances as they are sustained. Then you are able to describe those appearances. And these appearances, how do you study them? We look at the lived experience. We look at the things, we call it getting to the things themselves. You get to the life world of a particular issue. You want to understand. For example, for those that were, I don't know whether most of us were there, but we could be very young. The 2007 post-election violence, it was very traumatizing. It was a very bad scenario. There was a story that was going over the media of a first-year student in a university in Kenya who saw the mother burning on a wheelchair, and he could not save him, because if he could have gone to save her, he would also have died in the furnace. So he ran for the sake of his life. Now, when the schools opened some month later, when he went back to the university, his mind was blank. He could not remember his registration number. He could not remember even his own name because he was traumatized. He didn't even know what course he was doing. He was just there because of trauma. So when we talk about phenomena, when we talk about the lived experience in the phenomenology, we are looking at getting to this person. Then he tells us the experience that Kipngetich, he will tell us. He will tell us what exactly, how did it feel to be a victim of post-election violence? How does it feel? We get from their own life experience. So we look at their consciousness. This is what we call the subjective knowledge. We get into their consciousness, into their minds, and understand how do they feel as members that have gone through the experience of post-election, or if somebody has been diagnosed by a terminal disease such as cancer. You go to this person and Derek, stop that. So that we go to these people and they explain to us, what does it mean to be to be a victim of your first encounter as a victim of cancer? How did you feel? They tell us their life experience. Now, how does this phenomenology apply in education? One, because it is dealing with the subjective, which is the inner, it is called the ontology, the inner part. We are supposed to get the inner experiences of the learner and also synthesize them with the outer experiences. The role of education should, one, be able to bring out the inner and the outer experiences of the learner. So, which means education should not just be objective and forget the subjective aspect. education should not just focus on the outer experiences that this person is clever. There is that the innate being of this learner, that if you can be able to realize his potential as a teacher, then you'll have achieved. We will not just look at how this person has performed in an exam. Because he got an E, then this person is not worthy. But if you're able to look inner and get the inner potential of this learner as a teacher, then you'll have achieved as a phenomenologist. So therefore, when you take education as a phenomenologist, then it means that education should be able to put the learner at the center. So education should be learner-centered. So those are the arguments that you're supposed to put in an exam. If somebody can ask that, explain how phenomenology can be used as a teacher in teaching and learning. So those are the things that you're supposed to put out. That one, education as an experience should look in a learner as an individual, not as a group. And it's supposed to realize the outer and the inner experiences of the learner, so that this learner is able to express him or herself. And this can be achieved by education being learner-centered. So that you are able to explain that, and you are able to get the marks that is supposed to be done there. The last one that we are going to learn today is called a speculative method. And for us to understand speculative method, somebody asks, suppose you are sitting for a multiple choice type cut, and you have to guess the answer because you do not know it. Explain briefly how you will guess. So when you talk about speculation, it's like just guessing. It is also called metaphysical function. It's also called metaphysics. To speculate is to make an intelligent or rational guess. And this one always comes, especially maybe when you're talking about, you want to talk about you want to do an experiment. You speculate, you will guess that this is this one, and if we take this experiment, it will turn this into, maybe the color will turn blue or will turn yellow. So you're speculating, then you see it's like an hypothesis that when you go with this is how it will come about. So you make an intelligent guess as a teacher. So it endeavors to challenge the human mind as far as possible to its ultimate limits in trying to understand what apparently is comprehensible. So how do we get this in class? Speculative guess. When you get to a class, you're supposed to start from whatever is known to the learner. Start by brainstorming. Allow the learners to speculate what on the topic that you're going to teach. Brainstorm so that they can make intelligent guess. So which means even speculation emphasizes on learner-centered approach in the teaching and learning. So speculation, when you begin your lesson, when you start by brainstorming, when you engage in group discussion, you are allowing these learners to speculate. You are learning these learners to apply the metaphysical, so that at the end of the day, they are able to get whatever it is. So philosophers want to apply these things by reasoning. And in the normal human research, it's called hypothesis. So the best thing you're supposed to always look at as students, the first question you're supposed to understand, you're supposed to explain the 4 methods of philosophy. And then number 2, when you know you're able to understand the methods of philosophy, you'll be able, if you are able to explain those 4 methods, how you'll be able to apply them in education, then you'll be good to go. When in an exam, what most of us normally do, if you are told that explain the 4 methods of philosophy and how they can be able to, how they can be able to apply teaching and learning. Most of us, what we normally do, we just wake up and explain what it is. But now the problem comes in, we are not able now to apply in education. How do we apply this in teaching and learning? As a teacher, how are you able to apply speculation? And I think those are the most important things. I'll be sending articles on the issues of speculation and education, critical method and education, and also on the issue of analysis. How is it applied in education, so that in case those articles can be of great importance to you. After all has been said and done, I've said there's a way sometimes after you've seen, you might see philosophy to be a very interesting area. When you want to apply a philosophical, you want to apply philosophical tenets to solve a particular problem, then these are the 4 methods that you'll use. You can either use critique, can use phenomenology, can use speculative, you can use rational, which you call logic, or you can use true. This is mostly applicable when you're sitting for your master's class. We shall be looking at history of education in the 2nd semester. History also, as an educational approach, has got also his historical methods. We shall look at them. When we get to 3rd year, we shall also look at sociology. We shall also look at sociological methods. Then we go to 4th year, we shall be looking at comparative education, and we talk about the methods in comparative education. And that is why this course is called EDF, Education Foundations. Everything that exists has got a foundation. So by the time you get to 4th year and you go to teach, you're supposed to have been equipped deeper into the foundation of education. Kila kitu iko na msingi. Nyumba ya ghorofa iko na msingi. So EDF grounds you as a teacher, so that when you go to teach, you will be grounded, whether you are a teacher of physics, teacher of chemistry, teacher of Kiswahili. This is the course that is supposed to ground you. Irene, stop that. So this is the course that will ground you to a particular, as a teacher, so that you will be able to understand. When you talk about, when they tell you about CBC, you are informed. You are able to put your voice there. No, don't say, me matter, I don't know things because I'm a teacher of chemistry. So EDF is the foundation, msingi wa nyumba ya masomo ya ikukuwa mwalimu is now EDF. Savior. So that marks the end of our lesson today, but just before we end, there are some things I wanted us to look at, so that we don't keep on asking on the wall about this and that. Number one that I want us to look at, when you are in class, every time you can get class, it is just advisable. It is just good manners. If you get to class, the first thing you can hear, you mute yourself. And when we talk about muting ourselves, the first thing that you're supposed to do, if you have been told to mute yourself, let me just see if whatever I'm doing is the correct thing, because so that I'm not talking to myself, so that I don't know for how long I'll be teaching us, so that by the end of the day, we understand it is just good manners as students. I was supposed to share not the whole window. If you have come to a meeting, it is always good. Ukiingia hapo unakuwa mtu ambayo unakuwa na hekima kidogo, whereby you are supposed to mute yourself. Muting yourself is very, very important. And I just wanted to indicate, but it seems my screen is not coming out. I wanted to show when you come to a meeting where you're supposed to mute. If you look at the bottom bar, kuna hapo chini kabisa on the left, even if you have a phone, there is something like a microphone. So what you are supposed to do, if you click there, it will show that you've muted yourself. That is good, the one aspect. Then down there are some what we call anecdotes or some things. I'm forgetting the name. You're not supposed to touch there and start scribbling on my wall. That one is bad manners. Finally, before we end the lesson, the notes shall be sent on learners management system, the LMS. Go there, where Mandika EDF211 September to December. Enroll yourself there. Yes, there I've seen that we have improved. You are at 560. You will get your notes there. Our card shall be done there. Don't enroll to any other EDF. Just enroll to that one that indicates September to December, so that we'll be able to do our cards there. You'll find notes are there, and you'll even be able to find where the date for the card is. Now, before we end, anybody who has got a question, then we finish. You can unmute yourself and ask a question. Absalom?